Okay, so wow. Um, that's season finale of Mayfair Witches. Oh my gosh, just like left me reeling. Rowan giving birth to Lasher's child in a graveyard, no less. And the prophecy about the child being like the most powerful supernatural being ever. Season 2 seriously cannot get here soon enough. But before we like get ahead of ourselves and lost in all the theories, let's take a step back and recap season 1. For anyone who hasn't seen it, Mayfair Witches is about Rowan. She's this young neurosurgeon who like discovers she's a witch, and not just any witch. She's the latest in a long line of like these super powerful Mayfair women. But that family legacy comes with some seriously spooky baggage.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That ending was a total shocker. And yeah, you're right about that spooky baggage. It's like classic gothic horror. A creepy old house in New Orleans, a family with tons of dark secrets, and this mysterious entity named Lasher, who's been tied to the Mayfairs for centuries.
Okay, so let's rewind to the beginning. When we first meet Rowan, she's living a totally normal life. No clue about her witchy heritage.
Yeah.
Or the craziness that's about to hit her.
Yeah, it's that classic chosen one trope. But what's really interesting is how Rowan initially resists her destiny. Like, she tries to ignore her powers and just focus on being a surgeon. It's a very human reaction to something totally overwhelming.
Right, of course, that doesn't last long.
Yeah.
The powers start to manifest.
Mm.
And Lasher makes his presence known in some pretty unsettling ways. Remember that scene where she causes Dr. Keck to have an aneurysm? And he pushes her too far?
Oh, yeah. That was intense. That scene was so important. It showed us how closely Rowan's powers are tied to her emotions. She wasn't trying to hurt him, but her anger and fear triggered that reaction.
Yeah, talk about scary. And then there's all the family drama. We learned about Rowan's mother, Deirdre, and her tragic romance with Lasher.
Well,
Basically, Deirdre's aunt, Carlotta, imprisons her and keeps her, like, heavily medicated.
yeah,
Yeah.
Carlotta. She's fascinating. She represents this older generation of Mayfair witches who are terrified of their own power and Lasher's influence. Her actions, while cruel, stem from this need to protect the family.
Yeah, but it's still pretty messed up. And then there's the bombshell. That Cortland Rowan's uncle is actually her father. He assaulted Deirdre, and that's how Rowan was conceived.
Yeah, it's horrific. But what's even more disturbing is how Cortland embodies the dark side of the family. He's power-hungry, manipulative, and completely lacking in empathy.
Okay, so let's talk about Lasher. He's this shape-shifting entity who's been bound to the Mayfair Witches for centuries. One minute he seems like a devoted lover. The next he's manipulating Rowan.
Lasher is such a master of deception. He plays on the Mayfair women's desires for love, connection, and power, but his motives are still shrouded in mystery.
He's everywhere too. We see him in flashbacks to the 17th century, influencing Suzanne, the first Mayfair witch.
That scene with Suzanne is so important. It establishes the foundation of the Mayfair legacy and introduces the prophecy about the 13th witch, Rowan.
Right. And then there's the Talamasca, this ancient organization that monitors supernatural activity. They've been watching the Mayfairs for centuries.
The Talamasca adds this whole other layer of intrigue. They operate in the shadows, collecting knowledge about the supernatural world.
And then there's Ciprien, the Talamasca agent assigned to watch Rowan. He's clearly drawn to her and wants to protect her, but he also has to follow orders.
Yeah, Ciprien represents this tension between the human world and the supernatural. He's a scholar, a researcher, but he's also capable of using his knowledge for, like, less than noble purposes.
It's true, he does cross some lines. And then there's that whole witch hunter storyline, which adds a whole other level of danger.
Yeah, the witch hunters. They represent the fear and hatred that witches have faced throughout history. They see the Mayfairs as a threat and believe they must be eradicated.
They're terrifying. And they're not just some random group of crazies. They're organized, they have resources.
Exactly. And that makes them such a formidable adversary, especially for someone like Rowan who's just starting to understand her powers.
It's pretty dark stuff. But let's not forget about the visual elements of the show. The setting of New Orleans is so important.
Oh, absolutely. New Orleans, with its history, architecture, and culture, it's the perfect backdrop.
And the Mayfair house. This creepy mansion with secret passages.
It's a classic haunted house. But it's more than that. It represents the weight of tradition, the burden of the past.
And the garden is pretty symbolic, too. All those lush plants, the hidden statues.
The garden is this incredibly layered symbol. It's a place of growth and beauty, but it's also a place where things can get out of control.
Okay, back to the plot. Things really start to ramp up in the second half of the season as Rowan learns more about her family and the prophecy.
This is where we see Rowan start to take control. She's not just reacting anymore, she's actively seeking knowledge-making choices.
She even stands up to Lasher. which takes a lot of courage.
Exactly. That defiance is what makes her such a compelling character.
And then there's that crazy climax
Yeah.
where Rowan is captured by the witch hunters.
Oh man, that scene. So intense. It mirrored Suzanne's near execution, highlighting how this keeps happening throughout history.
She totally unleashes her power.
It's a pivotal moment of transformation. She sheds her old life and becomes the 13th witch.
But even with all her power, she still can't escape Lasher. Or the Talamasca.
It raises this question about power. Who gets to wield it? And what happens when it falls into the wrong hands?
And then boom, the season ends with Rowan giving birth in a graveyard.
That final scene is just perfect. The graveyard, the storm Suzanne's spirit, it creates this sense of awe and dread.
It's the ultimate cliffhanger.
And the birth of Lasher's child changes everything. What will this child become? What role will they play?
I can't wait to see what happens next.
Me neither. Season 2 is going to be wild. We've got a powerful witch, a manipulative immortal entity, a secret society, and witch hunters.
I'm gonna buckle up, everyone.
It's going to be a wild ride. So what did you think of the show? What stood out to you?
Yeah, what are you most curious about? We'd love to hear your theories and predictions for Season 2. Drop us a comment below.
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more in-depth discussions. You know, it's fascinating how Anne Rice, the author, weaves together these really complex characters and storylines.
Yeah, she has this knack for creating these morally ambiguous characters. Like, you're never quite sure if they're good or bad.
Exactly. Take Lasher, for example. He's powerful and dangerous, but he also seems to care for Rowan in his own kind of twisted way.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if he's truly in love with her or just manipulating her. Or maybe it's both.
That's what makes him so compelling. You never know what he's going to do next.
And Ciprien. He's so torn between the Talamasca and his feelings for Rowan.
Yeah, he's caught between two worlds, reason and magic.
I felt for him when he had to use Cortland's mask to get information.
It was definitely a moral gray area, but he did what he thought he had to do.
To protect Rowan.
Exactly. And that brings up one of the core themes of the show.
Oh, what's that?
The idea that sometimes you have to make tough choices. Choices that might compromise your values.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It makes you think. Speaking of tough choices, let's talk about those witch hunters.
Oh gosh, yeah. They represent the worst of humanity. The fear and the hatred of the unknown.
They were so ruthless.
Their actions remind us how easily fear can turn into violence.
That scene where they almost burned Tessa at the stake, it was terrifying.
It was a reminder of the persecution that witches have faced for centuries.
And it makes you wonder, are the witch hunters really that different from Lasher?
That's a really interesting point. They both operate from a place of fear and control, even though their methods are different.
It's like they're two sides of the same coin.
Exactly, and Rowan is caught right in the middle.
Okay, so let's get back to some of those key plot points. I was shocked when we learned that Deirdre's own sisters were involved in her mother's death.
Oh my gosh, that was a huge reveal. It really highlighted the dysfunction of the Mayfair family.
It's like they're cursed.
And Lasher's always there in the background, whispering in their ears.
He's like a puppet master.
Or maybe more like a virus, infecting their minds.
That's a good analogy.
He knows how to play on their weaknesses.
And he's patient.
He's been waiting for Rowan for centuries.
So speaking of Rowan, I wonder how she's going to handle being a mother in Season 2.
Motherhood changes everything, especially for someone like Rowan.
A child who's half demon.
It's going to be a wild ride.
And with Lasher lurking around,
Who knows what he'll try to do?
I hope Rowan can protect her child.
I think she will. She's strong.
And what about Ciprien? Will he choose Rowan or the Talamasca?
That's the big question. He's torn.
I'm rooting for them.
Me too.
Yeah?
They have this amazing connection, and their powers together, they could be unstoppable.
Yeah. They could take down Lasher and protect the baby.
Okay, so what about the Talamasca? What do you think their role will be in Season 2?
Good question. Do you think they'll try to take Rowan's baby?
It's possible. They've been watching the Mayfairs for so long. They might see the child as a threat.
Or a weapon?
The Talamasca is powerful, and their motives aren't always clear.
And Cortland, he was turned to stone. But is he really gone?
I don't know. He's so sneaky. I wouldn't be surprised if he found a way to come back.
And what about those witch hunters? Do you think they'll be back?
Oh, I'm sure they will. They won't give up that easily.
Okay, so let's have some fun. Let's make some predictions for Season 2.
Okay, I'll go first. I think Rowan's child will develop powers really fast, and they'll become a rival to Lasher.
Whoa, that would be awesome.
A toddler with supernatural powers versus an ancient entity.
Okay, that's a good one. What about you? What's your prediction?
Okay, here's mine. I think we'll find out that Rowan isn't the only one who can bring Lasher into the physical world.
Ooh, interesting.
Like there's someone else out there with a connection to the Mayfairs.
That would be a great twist.
It would give Lasher options.
I like it. It's like a game of chess.
So after all that, I'm even more excited for season 2.
Me too. I can't wait to see what happens.
I think it's going to be mind-blowing.
It's going to be intense.
And maybe even heartwarming at times.
I bet we'll see some new characters too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how the dynamics change now that Rowan's a mother.
And what about Lasher? Will he try to manipulate his child?
And Ciprien? Will he break free from the Talamasca?
And the Talamasca. What are they really up to?
So many questions.
I know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
But in the meantime, any other predictions?
Let me see.
Come on, Dolly, don't overthink it.
Okay, how about this? I think there's going to be a big showdown between the Mayfair Witches and the Witch Hunters, with the Talamasca caught in the middle.
Oh, wow. That would be epic.
What battle for the ages?
Like a supernatural Avengers movie.
I'd watch that.
Okay, one last prediction for me. I think Lasher's ultimate goal is to transcend this world and ascend to like a higher plane of existence.
That's a really interesting theory.
He wants to break free.
It would explain a lot.
Yeah. He's going to use Rowan and her child to open a portal to another dimension.
That would be a crazy twist.
Anne Rice always loved to blend the supernatural and the philosophical.
She did.
I think season 2 is going to be a game changer.
I think so too.
I can't wait.
January 5th can't get here soon enough.
Well, I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have.
But there's always more to talk about.
Right.
Mayfair Witches is a show you can watch over and over again.
There's so much to unpack.
And with season 2 coming up.
It's a good time to rewatch season 1.
Speaking of rewatching, did you notice that in the scene where Rowan first meets Lasher in the greenhouse, there's a shot of a spider web?
Oh, yeah.
It's like glistening in the sunlight.
Right. And that could be a symbol of Lasher's manipulation.
Totally. Like he's slowly trapping Rowan.
It's subtle, but it's powerful.
It's those little details that make the show so good.
I agree.
Okay, speaking of details, we have to talk about New Orleans.
Yeah, New Orleans is like another character.
It's got this mystical vibe.
It's perfect for a show about magic and mystery.
All that history and folklore.
Voodoo magic.
And the show does such a good job of capturing the culture.
The music, the food.
Remember those scenes in the French Quarter? With the fortune tellers?
Oh, yeah. It felt so real.
Like you were right there.
And then there's the Mayfair house.
That creepy mansion.
Beautiful and terrifying.
Like the Mayfair Witches.
It's a symbol of their power.
And their secrets.
Yeah.
And their darkness.
Right.
And the garden.
Oh, the garden.
It's both beautiful and dangerous.
It's where Rowan discovers her powers.
But it's also where she faces challenges.
The lush plants the statues. The scent of jasmine.
It's like a metaphor for nature itself.
Life and death.
Creation and destruction.
And Rowan's journey reflects that.
So yeah, Mayfair Witches is a really captivating show.
It's intense.
And thought-provoking.
If you like gothic, horror, and family dramas, you have to watch it.
And with season 2 almost here, now's the perfect time to catch up.
So what are you waiting for?
Season 2 premieres January 5th on AMC and AMC+.
Let us know what you think. Leave a comment below.
Tell us your predictions for season 2. What were your favorite moments from season 1?
And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives.
Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.